The rule here at the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame is if you can't make it to the ceremony or the induction announcement in January down in Fort Myers, if you want to get your ring and your plaque, you have to attend one of those events. That's just the rule. We've had several officials, several individuals who have come a year later or even 2 years later because of their schedules or some other event. We always keep that open. If you want to come to any of our events to be inducted and get your ring and your plaque, come join us. And that is what the story is for one individual who is with us today. Takes a lot to focus to work as a judge in the sport of boxing. It's especially tough when you're in the hometown of a fighter who has the crowd trying to, get a little influence going. But a quality judge, even though the sport is subjective, you have to make sure that you're impartial. You got to put aside any personal feelings to make sure that the right fighter wins on the scorecards. That's not something that everybody can do. The best judges become much sought after, just like our next inductee. He grew up in New York and became a big boxing fan after attending the New York City Golden Gloves. He would eventually move to Florida, wound up buying the Florida franchise for the National Golden Glove Tournament. He would serve as president and director of that tournament for over 20 years. Some of the biggest names in boxing fought for Team Florida under his leadership, including Antonio Tarver, Jeff Lacey, Andre Berto, and Nate Campbell Jr. Even before he jumped into the Golden Gloves, he began working on his own career as a boxing official. He went to work for the Florida State Boxing Commission as a referee, an inspector, a weighmaster, even did a little ring announcing in his time. But it was in 1987 that he decided his love would be judging, and he never looked back. He's worked for all the major boxing organizations, IBO, WBA, all of them. His reputation led him to being one of the more sought-after judges in the country. He's been able to travel the world, judging in countries such as Argentina, Colombia, England, Italy, Puerto Rico, and many more. He's been a featured judge on main events on all the major networks like HBO and Showtime. Some of the fighters he judged include Florida Boxing Hall of Fame inductees Roberto Duran, Hector Camacho Sr., Michael Moore, and Ray Mercer. 5 decades later, he continues to judge here in Florida and elsewhere, and it's likely his phone won't stop ringing anytime soon, which speaks to his abilities and accomplishments. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome officially to the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2020, boxing judge Mark Streisand.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news talking this and that.
I'd like to start off by saying there are no words sufficient to express what an honor it is to be standing here before you today. I'm humbled and I'm grateful to be sharing this time with you. I'm actually, as you know, a member of the class of 2020, but I was unable to make it last year. Bob Alexander graciously informed me at ringside not too long ago that I would have the opportunity to speak at this event, but that there was a time limit of 5 minutes. And I said to myself, how am I going to cram 35 years of ringside experience into 5 minutes? Well, here goes. Most of you know me as a boxing judge, but as a younger man, I fought as a bantamweight. I had 35 fights, 34 knockouts. Then I landed a lucky punch and I won. I was known as an ambidextrous fighter. I could get knocked out with either hand. Seriously, though, I'd like to share with you 3 life lessons that I learned from boxing. Number 1, it's not how many times you get knocked out that counts, it's how many times you get back up. The harder you work, the luckier you get. And number 3, sometimes you just got to roll with the punches. And if you use those 3 lessons in life, you'll be okay. I have a few quick thank yous to make. Thank you, Steve Canton, behind me. Thank you, Bob Alexander and the entire board of directors for the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. Thank you, Kathy and Butch. I don't know where you are, but thank you guys, Butch. Mary Alexander. I don't know how you did all this entire weekend, but you certainly deserve a big thank you from everyone. And I don't know how you put up with Bob either. You deserve an award for that alone. Thank you to my wife, Sandra, my kids, Gordy, Carolina, and Andrea. They put up with a lot of missed Friday and Saturday night family gatherings over the years. You guys are the champs. Fortunately for me, they understand the passion and respect that I have for the sport of boxing. Thank you to my brother Gary, whom I shared a room with as a child, and we watched countless hours of boxing on a tiny black and white TV. I've been blessed to work with some of the finest promoters, cornermen, judges, referees, photographers, announcers, writers in the entire world. All that said, we could never overlook the fighters. They make an enormous commitment when they step through those ropes and get into the ring. I have the utmost respect for any man, woman, or child that gets in the ring. They fight through fear, through nerves, through adversity, and they forge ahead. I'm going to go off my papers here for a moment. I remember, gosh, I guess it's 25 or 30 years already. I watched Glenn Johnson, who's being inducted today, as an amateur boxer in North Miami Beach. And how proud I was when he turned pro, and he was known as the Road Warrior. He went to Sheffield, England, I believe, and fought Clinton Woods for the title. Great fight. They ruled it a draw. Glenn won the fight, but they ruled it a draw. The fans in the UK are very savvy. They knew what went on, and they all booed the decision because they knew that Glenn won. I was proud. I'm proud of you, Glenn. They made the rematch, and Glenn went back there and he won the title. I got goosebumps telling you the story. Antonio Tarver, I remember him as an amateur. In fact, we went to Milwaukee, I believe, for the National Golden Gloves in 1994 or thereabouts, and he won, of course. As an administrator of the Golden Gloves, it's great when you win, there's no doubt about it, but it makes you proud. He's been in some wars as a professional fighter. How proud I was when he represented our country in the Olympics. Tony, it just makes you proud standing up here, and we appreciate it. Boxing doesn't care. Boxing doesn't care if you're white or black, if you're Asian or Latino. Boxing doesn't care about your sexuality, how old you are, if you're tall or you're short, or if you're rich or poor. It's the most basic form of competition that there is. Since the beginning of time, going back to Adam and Eve, there's been love and there's been fights. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my boxing family. You guys are my boxing family. As a boxing judge, we chat at ringside prior to the fights and in between the fights. We share our boxing stories, but we also share our stories of life, births and deaths, marriages and divorces, health issues, etc. We share our joys and we share our sadness. That's what families do, and we are family. As I age and my hair turns gray, I treasure those conversations at ringside. Unfortunately, as Bob mentioned earlier, quite a number of our former champions have passed this past year, and all the more reason to enjoy each other's company and treasure those conversations. Fortunately, boxing survives. Rules may change, the number of rounds change, gloves change, officiating changes, training methods change, and the TV and internet has a major impact on the sport. But a fight is still a fight. And true, these days, we may have retired boxers fighting YouTube personalities for millions of dollars, but a fight is still a fight. The sport continues to evolve, but we must never forget our history. And that's why the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame exists, to honor those fighters who went before. I'd like to remind everyone here that our incoming class of 2021 is entering the same Florida Boxing Hall of Fame that includes Muhammad Ali, Roberto Duran, Kid Gavilan, Willie Pep, Christy Martin, Chris and Angelo Dundee, and Roy Jones, just to name a few. Please join me in saluting and congratulating all of the inductees of the class of 2021. Congratulations, guys.